Hello, everyone. We are looking at you here from the outside coming in. I'm joining Christopher Ray here. We are live, and it's going to be a fun one. It's episode 61, and we are talking about what happened in the last 10 years. So I got invited on this morning, late notice, and I'm just excited to be on here with Christopher.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate you jumping on, trying to get, I know you're trying to get ready and set up for the Stanliner training. It's training, right? Yeah, the little
Yeah,
training
yeah, it's
event.
gonna be a hands-on thing. It's pretty amazing. I'm
Hmm.
so stoked. We'll have to almost do a recap someday and kind of talk about what we did see because I'm excited you're coming, and we're gonna do
Yes.
things side by side. So we'll have a lot to talk about after it's over with. I think we're both very anxious to see what's gonna
Hmm.
come and become of it. So I'm a pusher. Sure my whole life, and I look at some of these tools and I know there's dragging techniques and different things that we're going to be
Yeah.
that's very exciting to me because I'm always wanting to push myself to get to that next level. So
Yeah. Well, again, Don, I appreciate you taking that time to come on because I know you have a busy schedule, especially in the coming days here. So I definitely appreciate that. I know the people watching appreciate you jumping on. Don, I wanted you to come on, and you're the perfect fit because I think a lot of people don't know how long you actually been in the industry. So, can you share a little bit about your background
oh,
before we get started on the topic?
yeah, of course, absolutely. I thought it was really funny. I think you and I talked about a month ago, and you thought I've been doing this for like 5 years or something. That was really funny.
Yeah,
That was like,
I'm
oh,
sorry. I apologize.
oh, it's awesome. It's awesome. I just find it so funny though. You clip along and you think, what's news, right? So, but I actually picked up my first tool in '89. So I've been at it a
Wow.
long time. Here it is 19 and 30 years later. I didn't incorporate until 91. I stayed with this guy that trained me, and his name was
Okay.
Jurgen Holzer. And he had learned in the BMW factory in Munich in the 60s and 70s. So I always said, "Oh, are those the first guys?" And he's, "Oh, no, no, those guys that learned 60s and 70s were taught by guys that learned the 30s and in the 50s." I was like, "Oh my
Ooh.
gosh,
Wow.
crazy." So, it had been around at the BMW factory for years and years, and I was his very first student. I kind of saw him at a dealership, and I was a service writer, and he would come in and say he did paintless dent removal. It was like 85, and
Right.
first time he came in, and I was like, I was actually really just out of college. I had moved back from California. I'd gone to school out there and moved back, and here I am trying to run a little service department area. And I have to be careful. He drove a Mercedes, so every other time he came in, he wanted to talk about this paintless dent removal thing that he miraculously moved dents, or he wanted oil change or something done in his car. So it was kind of weird, but I didn't know what to do, and I kept saying, "Hey, we got a body shop. I don't know, what we would possibly need, from some, gypsy guy that with tools."
Right.
So that was that, and he, just really quickly, I've said this before, but he asked me out to his car, and he said, "Hey, I got something to show you," and he opened up his trunk, and he grabbed a hammer, which is one of the same blending hammers I use today, and he stuck it up to the side of his door, and he put a big dent in it. It was like, "Whoa, what's the guy doing here?" I thought he was absolutely crazy, and he stepped forward, and he put a dent that was the back door. He put another dent in the front door. I'm backing
Mhm.
up basically towards the fender going, "I'm out of here. This guy is absolutely crazy." And he said, "Hey, can I sit here for like an hour or two and I'll get this out?" And I was like, "What?" And so that was what, I couldn't think of my customers or my clients or anything at that point, being a service writer back
Yeah.
then, young guy.
Yeah.
And I came back out, the dents were gone. It was like, wow. And so that's how I got my first, feel of it. And I started working with him. And every Thursday I would set up one or two cars. And then pretty soon I'd have 10 cars for him on a Thursday. And then for 2, 3 years, I just kept saying, "Man, you need to train me. I need to do this."
Mhm. Mhm.
That's kind of how I
Wow.
start. So we'll see.
Wow. Well, Don, it seems like you said, the 30s and 40s, people have been trying, people have been basically using this technique to repair dents. Maybe not as proficient as we are currently. Maybe, I don't know. Uh, Before we get started on the topic again, like, what do you think caused this slow growth in the industry? Because it seems like anything that's kind of comes from a manufacturing background, as soon as it releases to the public, it just explodes. So have you kind of looked at like why the industry is just slow growing, or do you think it's slow growing?
That's such a great question. I'm so perplexed with it. I just cannot believe that it isn't more mainstream. I think we should have
Mhm.
brick and mortars on every street corner, and we should be out doing the body shops. Actually, I'm just dumbfounded, and I really think it kind of goes back to the body shops. A lot of them just don't want people to know, about it.
Yeah.
I used to
I've
go in.
always said the compression of the industry
Yes, yes,
has been
and I think they're
far
really
more
scared of
secure than
us.
I.
They don't,
Mhm.
one of those things. I mean, I had old body guys and stuff that when I first started in '89, going into some of these shops, that they were showing me the car. They were like so mad that I was even in there, and they're coming up, "Hey, you're putting me out of business. My kids have to eat too. This is not fair that you're in my space and you're trying to work in my stall." And I'm like, "Dude, I just got a phone call. I'm just here to try to
Yeah.
do what we can."
Mhm.
And I mean, it never turned to fist fights, but I wondered sometimes. I
Yeah, yeah,
Oh, okay, I'm out of here, this type of thing.
yeah, yeah.
Those same guys, though, they always came full circle.
Mhm.
3, 4, 5 months later, even though they're, whispering like this when you walk in, and you're like, "Oh god," you can just feel the tension. Those same guys 6 months later are walking up saying, "Man, I've been looking at your stuff. It's pretty amazing. I just bought my wife a new car. I got a dent. Can you look at this thing?" And it's just so funny. So even the workers have accepted us, in the body guys, and in the body shop managers and everything. But at the same time, they're not helping us get out there. So it's
Mhm.
very
Yeah.
frustrating to me that that's kind of where we fall on those ears. And I think what really we did, I know I did, I made a big, big mistake years ago. It was me and this Jurgen, this German guy, and we had Minneapolis, St. Paul area to ourselves. And I thought I was doing the right thing. And I went and opened about 30 dealerships. I opened up all the Highline dealerships. I was just, we were crushing it. I ended up leaving him in '91 when I did incorporate. I stayed with him for a few years, and it was kind of a bad thing. But that's a whole nother story. But anyway, it's just bizarre how I thought I was doing the right thing, but I actually hurt myself. I went and opened up 30 dealership, trained like 7 guys. We are just killing it, just having
Mhm.
fun. Great. All we could do to get done with everything. And then it was one day, it was about 6, 7 years ago. I thought about it and I was like, "Oh my God, I had this great crash at the shop. I'm working on this $500 car, and the Mercedes dealership called me, and of course, I'd be right there, and put it
Yeah.
on hold and went up there to do a, $150 dent or whatever it was.
Mhm.
And I think he doubled it. I think it was actually a $200 dent. He charged $400. That's actually what it was. And it was like, wait a minute, you just called me, you made $200, but it didn't bother me because I knew they were jacking it up. I just didn't know what they were doing at 100%. I just had no idea.
Yeah, yeah.
And I got home that night. My wife was asking what was wrong. She knows me so well, and I was like,
Mhm.
I don't know. And she goes, "I know what it is. They marked it up $200." And I'm like, "Yeah, but no." I woke up in the middle of the night, Christopher, and shook her. Oh, she thought the damn house was burning down. I said, "Honey, I got it. I got it." I said, "You know what I'm doing? I'm giving that price to them for 200. They're charging 400. But the worst part is we're not branding Dentcraft here.
Yeah,
We
you're
are making
branding the
them our
company. Yeah.
direct competition." I've made 30 dealerships my direct competition because they're saying when they get home, to probably a couple buddies, "Hey, I had my Mercedes in the service aisle today over at the Mercedes dealership. God, they do good work. If you ever get a door ding, you need to go to Mercedes, man. Those guys, they do good
Mhm.
work." They didn't realize we're slipping in the back door.
Yep.
So
Is
therefore,
the
we're just
Yeah.
another service at a dealership, and
Yep.
them taking all the accolades and all the bonus for that. And
Mhm.
it just killed me, and I didn't even realize it. So overnight, I mean, took me, maybe
Mm.
6, I felt like overnight, but about 6 months, I got rid of all those dealerships, man. I took it hard. I gave dealerships to different guys that I was working with, and I didn't want to hurt anybody that way, but I just wanted to get out. And it hurt me for a few years, but then it came back strong. And the retail presence for us has been really, really growing. And I
Mhm.
wish I would have done that at first. I think if I would have, and maybe a lot more of us would have went after the retail right away, we might have that presence we're looking for. And I know that was a very long answer to get back to you, but it's just kind of hard to see it. And I'm just I've thought about it really deeply, and that's how I made my bad move. So.
Right. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I've, unfortunately kind of, you know, let go of relationships just because the fact that they will not pass out my name card or anything. They want it all. They want the name, they want the publicity for doing that great work. I mean, I'm sorry, I don't do this for you. You know, I do have my own business. And the other way around, I say, hey, you know, go to this body shop when you need a body shop. I'm not trying to say I paint cars and then trying to facilitate you know, that repair. I'm like, hey, go there to do great work. Why couldn't you say, hey, come here, he does great work? I guess you didn't respect me in that regard. So oddly enough, most of the people, like 80% of the people who have done that, they've came back and kind of said, hey, you know, I would like for you to come back and do work, because it's all about the job, man. You gotta give credit where credit is due. A lot of people are taking credit for other people's ideas, so
Yeah.
or work, and that's just not right. So,
No,
but
I agree.
it's again, it's like the copy. I always say, you know, you got to get inspired, don't copy.
Right.
So it's the same
Exactly.
thing. Yeah,
Exactly.
they should want someone to come up to their level and to service them better. Because if I grow, I can service them better, and it works out for both parties.
Absolutely, and they're
So,
making a monetary value off of us, and
of
they
course.
can brag about the relationship they have with you, even
Yeah,
though Christopher or whoever's out there is in high demand. We happen to have a really good relationship with Dentless Touch, and he does such good work that you want him to work on your car. And the only advantage is that you have your car in for service today, and we can maybe facilitate a two birds with one stone repair. But they have to
exactly.
apply your colors, or it doesn't work.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I agree. Well, hopefully this is kind of a preface to, you know, the show. We have a bunch of things that we're going to talk about, Don, and one of the things I think we'll go ahead and just talk about tool innovations. Uh, we're going to try to keep it short because I know, Don, you need to get get out of there and get back to the shop early in the morning. I'm pretty sure.
Yep, yep, I do.
So let's talk about the tool innovations. Don, it's all you. I would say, what are some of the tools that you can remember that currently no one uses, no one would dare to use, that you can remember?
There's a lot of stuff that I'll actually show you some of the stuff when you come to the shop, but there's just some really crude stuff that we used to use. You know, I made a lot of stuff out of spring steel. Obviously, we would go and rob every single trunk spring we could find at the dealership, or I mean at the or the junkyards, right? And you just feel so good if you could find like a 1970s Impala, you know, because it had that
Hmm.
big fat rod versus the little car. It had the little rods, and you had all different sizes you could make tools out of. A few of them actually I still use today, believe it or not, that I've made originally.
Wow.
Yeah, and but some of them are so crude, you'd be like, "What?" You know, "What the heck is that?" So,
So
which,
I want to bring you down. I'm sorry. What did you say, Don?
are we having a little feedback all of a sudden?
I
Can you hear me
think
well?
I
You
can
just
hear you, but I hear the
must
feedback.
must be just mine. I'm getting that feedback again, weird. But I think I can get through it if you can hear me.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, great.
Now I want to bring you down memory lane. I know we were chatting before the show started, but I'm pretty sure you remember this right here.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah,
It's
the old lifter.
the old Worth mini lifter here. I don't know if you guys can even see it. It's so scratched up that the name of it, I don't know if you guys can see it. There it is right there. Yeah, Don, I'm pretty sure you used this tool before.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Use that. Sorry, Dave Streen's humping in here. So,
He's in the chat.
yeah. But yes,
Got it.
we did. As a matter of fact, the first time I saw that thing, it blew my mind. I was working on the guy, it was just perfect timing. We were working on an Audi, and we just had finished the hail damage on it. And I was just having two rails being sent out to the Highline Body Shop to paint them. And this thing, the guy walks in with the Worth box, and it's $385. Says, "I got this machine," and he takes this thing out. And we were like, "What the heck is that?" And he says, "Oh, I can glue puck a dent out." And I'm like, "Yeah, right, dude." We're like laughing at him. There's like five of us at the shop at that point. You know, we're like, "Yeah, right." Well, and he's not a dent guy, right? So he opens
Mhm.
this thing up, and I said, "Here's one right here, you know, on this rail, on this, you know, I think it was an A6 or something." And he He goes, okay, no problem. Let me see what we can do. And he TP'd that thing. He put the glue on there and he TP'd it. We couldn't even tell it was TP'd because to get the heat off, we had to use glue, like this heat gun to get the glue. And it was so
Oh
moist.
wow.
Bondo scrapers, like scraping it. And he had this Worth spray that didn't work crap. He just made a mess. It took me like 5 minutes to see what was under the glue to realize he TP'd this thing like a mouthful, and he was scared. He was shaking. He goes, oh my God, I don't know what to do. This is one of my first pulls on this, and blah, blah, blah. And I said, dude, I'll take it. And he's like, what? And I go, no, I will buy that kit right now. And it took me like 3 days, probably longer than it would have a body shop, to paint it. But in all reality, it worked out great, and I was able to fix it. And it was my first rail systems ever fixed. That kit paid for itself the first time we used it. So,
But now you don't recommend it though.
no, I would stay far away from that thing. Those will crease next to it. It's probably like that cheap one you buy off eBay now.
Yeah, I agree. If you're using this, there is definitely better things. I use the Kiko mini lifter.
Yep.
Don, what's your favorite mini lifter?
I'm really into Ray's Lift Right. That thing,
Okay.
I just absolutely love that thing. And I do have a Kiko, and I do use a lot of Kiko stuff. I love Kiko stuff. The K-bar is a daily thing, and the beam and all that stuff. But I really like this Lift Right. There's something about how that lifts completely straight up. It blows my mind.
I might need to get it. I don't have one.
Pardon? You don't have one?
No, I might need to. I heard that the angle of the pull is straight dead on almost every time. So if anybody is experienced with glue pulling, there's really not a lot of mini lifters that will give you a straight pull like that.
You bet.
So maybe you can try that.
I'm going to try to switch. Explain that what you got in your hand. I'm going to try to switch to just get such feedback. I'm going to switch to a different outlet here, but I can still do that with screwing us up, I think.
Perfect. All right. So the second item that I thought I don't currently use anymore, I'm pretty sure Don probably does not use this, but this is a door jammer. You can still purchase this item. There's just better options now currently on the market. This is kind of an old style, these little wing nuts. Obviously, I've lost a few of them. But these are one of the tools. This is my first door jam, probably my first door jam. I've been doing it for about almost 13 years now. So if you're still using this, I don't know. I probably would switch up. It doesn't give you the length, to the ability to open the door. You can adjust this, but it's so time consuming. And then this nut actually bends. So, so.
Sorry about that.
Paintless Dent Repair said he still uses this door jammer. So, hey, try out the B&D Tools one. It gives you more stability. I've shared that in my videos.
Yeah, that's a good one.
We're just gonna go through a lot more.
The extended one for sure.
Yeah, B&D Tools and and you can also get it from Anson if you prefer to purchase through them. I think they sell an XL one, which is I recommend that one, honestly. So this is a board. Now this has the, I think, Brandon David fade on it. This is not the fade that I used to run with. I used to have just a white plastic board with a spray paint down the middle of it. And so that's what I used to basically repair dents. Now this is now my shade board, but this was the only tool. There was absolutely no option for a limident. I'm pretty sure, Don, you've worked plenty of dents on these types of boards.
Never.
Never? You always use the light?
Yeah. I'll always use the light. Yep.
Wow.
My whole career. Yeah. So when I started, I didn't have a light at all. We just used straight edges, believe it or not. And boy, were we terrible, You're like, what are we doing? I think I was about 6 months in, and we went and bought those meat lights. I don't know if you've ever saw them, but they're like maybe 18 inches, and they'd go underneath your cabinet, in your kitchen. And they had this like half moon plastic shield, and we tried striping it and putting tape on it and different, but it changed our world. We were like, wow, that's freaking awesome, so we started
Yeah.
doing that, and then we were really into these the two fixtured 4-foot lights. We'd put
Yeah.
them, we made our own stands and welded, these things weighed I've got a few. I gotta pull them out of the back shed. I gotta show you when you come. These things weigh as much as your car. It's crazy. And they didn't articulate. It was either straight up or you would bring it around and you could use it, but you couldn't like turn the light. You would just have to
Oh, wow.
it. And we thought we were just killing it, we really
Yeah.
did. But you would
Wow.
just left and right. So
So you were just so far behind me on this. This
oh
was
yeah,
this is my
man.
go. This is my go board. Obviously, it was like
Let's
white
get
and then the
right to
spray
that.
paint. Yeah, and I mean, this pretty much it. I just pretty much upgraded with the new board just in case I have no lights. I can at
Sure.
least take a dent out with, something better. The suction cup is crap currently right now. But yeah, I had no light, so this was the only option to do repairs inside, outside, didn't matter. Hopefully you could see kind of. And I know, Don, you have a ton of tools that you used to make and build, but this is the one I actually still use today. This is just a custom made. I use it for fenders.
Old snap on.
I put a bunch of rubber over it. I don't even know who. I can't even remember who built it.
I have one
But
real similar still that I use as well, and the only thing I did differently is I bent that handle a little bit and made it a triangle handle, so you can get really
okay,
tight on the tire that way. You can even get closer. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Yeah,
I
just
got
bent
you.
that far part out, but it works pretty good. So,
Yeah,
but that's
blend
a
it
great
in.
tool. Yep, exactly, exactly.
Yeah. So, those are the tool aspects. I think I got to give much respect to James Lee. I remember when the James Lee light first came out, we were using corded 12-volt, I guess, fluorescent lights, and if those things fell off the car, they were done. You were taping it up. And so James Lee came out that with that light, with that commercial, with him running over the light with the motorcycle, and it still turned on. I was absolutely sold when he had that commercial. Have you seen it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. A long time ago. Yeah,
So I was
and
doing some research, and it looks like it was 2013
okay.
that he basically, well, December, so a little bit over 5 years ago,
Yeah.
and that's when he came out with the light, or at least advertised the
You
light. It's on
saw
this.
LED.
Yeah, that's when he came out about a
Yeah.
little over 5 years ago.
Of course, Pro PDR came out with it in '09, 2000, in a little
They
bit early.
did.
Yeah, 4 years earlier, actually. So
Wow.
yeah, yeah, and he was actually bringing me. I was just talking to Bill today. We were giggling about it. Bill was, and he's not doesn't own it anymore. But Bill was only about 30 minutes from me, Pro PDR, right? So
Okay.
when you come to my shop, you'll see I'm Pro PDR everything. I was the R&D shop for them. So he was bringing me stuff '07, '08 to try an LED, and it was so freaking crazy. And then he
Oh,
really had it really well done about 2010, and then everybody started copying his LED. But
okay.
it, but James Lee does it really, really well. Bill and him are friends. He went a different angle with it, and it wasn't like any time of animosity or anything like that, because he was going after the smaller lights, and he kind of
Right.
went for a different niche. But
Yeah.
Bill was funny because I remember him learning in the '90s, and he came to my shop, and he was really having a hard time. It was fluorescent lights, and he was a little older than all of us, and he was like, can't really see anything, man. It's just too bright. And man, I got to do something. So he was actually the first guy that really went and started really going out, and he was going to Japan, man. He had so many different little LED lights, and be like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. Let's try this.
Right.
Let's try this. He started with 1 strip, 2 strips, 3 strips, 8 strips, 12 strips. He has so many of them that he went with. He went with orange and blue and green, and he had every damn color. It was like, Bill, I think we need to get back to the whites. And
Yeah.
some people like the colors, though. They really did. And, major kudos to him. I think we don't all see the same way either. What do you prefer
Yeah.
with your lights?
I like the Stucky fade. I'm a Stucky guy. The only thing I wish on the Stucky light that it was brighter.
Okay.
So certain times when my eyes are fatigued, I'm now actually leaning back over to the Limited. Stucky as far as usability is a great light. It acts like a board. So as soon as you suction, I'll kind of show you. I think we were going off of when Dave was here, but as soon as you suction it off, you can move it just like a board. A Limited light takes a little bit of effort, and it's
Mhm.
almost a two-hand type option. But if you
Sure.
got a tool in, you're working, you need to move your light, you're done. You're moving your light and you're getting through that debt instead of going, wait for it, move it, pull it with two hands, get it right.
Sure.
It's just more cumbersome, the Limited, I feel like.
Yeah.
But the output of that light, I cannot match it. So if I had to build the best of both worlds, is kind of would be the Stucky light with more output, like a high output Stucky light would probably
I've
be a
never
great
tried the
light.
Ducky light. I'll have to try that thing for sure.
I can bring one. I can bring one when I get there.
Yeah.
It's definitely when you look at it, like, okay, the fade is not as strong. You don't see the orange pill as much,
Sure.
but being able to just move that light in any given angle quickly, one handed, it will save you so much time. It
Gotcha.
will. So
I got
um
about 3 or 4 James lights, and I do like them too. But I've got
yeah.
a couple 20s, and I got that newest one, the new vacuum one, to the 14-inch,
Okay.
which is really
Okay.
nice.
Yeah. Yeah, he kills it with the lights. I mean, I think
I just
both
saw
of them
his
are pretty
tail
good.
at Anson. Oh my gosh, that thing is amazing. That thing
The new
is
hell light?
beast. Yeah, I think they're like
Yeah.
7 strips of times 14 or something.
Mhm.
It's just amazing. Yeah.
With the app, built-in app?
I didn't see the app part. He didn't show me that part. Showed
Okay,
me
okay.
the light, and man, you could maybe get a tan with that. You could do 2 things at once. I don't know.
Hey, when he comes out with a product, this is like, I didn't even know I needed that.
Right.
You know?
He's such
So
a humble guy, and
mhm.
wife and kids and everything. It's just I just spent a week with those guys down there, or 4 days.
Yeah.
So at Anson, so good people.
Good, so moving along from the tools, y I mean, you're killing it right now, Don, but what are the worst cars? The cars that you dread, um, probably about 15, 20 years ago. What were the cars that you just shook your head as soon as they came through the door?
The old Volvos were really not
The
that
new
great.
Volvos, I mean.
The new ones are just as bad. You can imagine what we had back then. We had like 5 tools. At least now we have an
Oh,
arsenal to get between some of this crap. You pull a taillight, you think you're in. Ah, no. You know,
yeah.
why does the taillight go to the roof? What? Come on, you know. Geez, I would have had this done by now if it wasn't a Volvo, but the Volvos and the Saabs and
Ooh.
what we
Oh,
hated
man.
back in the day were the Sables and the Tauruses. They had this in the
That
'96 era.
that
Yes.
body line, yeah, that came over. You had to have the special tool.
Hourglass, nothing else. Everything else would spin. I have these crude dent tools that I made that work great on those body lines, and we call them the Taurus tools. And had to go to the drawing board and make them.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
we made all our own tools, man. I didn't even see another tool manufacturer. That was part of my training with this Jurgen Holzer. We made every single tool we had. There wasn't any. Let's face it, there wasn't any tool manufacturers. You made it, and a lot of those tools are really important that I use today. They're a little bit crude, but I'm in the process of bringing a lot of that stuff to the market with Chad and Chad from Endeavor. We become very, very close.
Nice.
We just launched one of our tools together, our first tool down at Anson.
Nice.
That's kind of
Nice.
cool.
Nice. Good, good.
But if you
So
use
how
them,
was the paint?
I'll share. Pardon?
What'd you say? I'm sorry?
I said as long as I'm using them every day and they're our go-to tools, we might as well share them with everybody because I would rather see everybody do extremely well and really kill it versus the guy that really messes up your car and they see it for the first time because they're not, as we talked about earlier, they're not very, knowledgeable about paintless dent repair. And if they see that
Mhm.
someone's screwing it up the very first time, it's really tough to, get a second chance at those people. And I just want everybody to be at the same level. And I think we all can be. I really see a great change in this world that I'm in with you
I
guys.
agree. I agree. Guys,
Okay.
in the chat, if you have any questions for Don or for myself, please leave it in the chat. We're just going to continue to keep talking about the difference in paints and metals and go through the show notes here. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave it in the chat, guys. So
we
Don,
go
how?
look at
Oh,
that
I'm
later?
sorry.
Do you
Go
see the
ahead.
chat? I don't, right? I don't see
Yes,
that.
I see the chat. Don't worry, I'm on it. It's on to my right here.
Been on this
so
format, so.
so Don, how was the paint? I thought it was more durable back in the day. I mean, what do you think?
You know, no, yes and no. That's such uh, a tough one. It depended on the car. You know, it really did. We had some Chevys and stuff that we were working in the mid '90s that would pull paint like you wouldn't believe. I mean, you just put a puck on there and you just knew you were going to pull paint. It was like they forgot to put the darn primer on those cars. It was absolutely ridiculous. And a lot of cars would chip, on the way in, and you would just know by the look at the dent that what was going to happen there. A lot of them would spider and different things. I think the betterment really started about 2000 for us, I think. Unless it was
Mhm.
a repaint on an older car, then it was just fine. But I worked on a lot of old lacquer stuff.
Ooh, how
My
is that?
my niche was more when I got started, I couldn't get people that were driving everyday cars. They just didn't understand or agree. But I had some really great following with hot rods and things like that. And I went to
Ooh.
some of these guys' car shows, and they'd have, a $10,000 paint job, and they'd just be showing me they'd be sick about it because they would no way they could, match that paint. And I was about 5, 6 years in, and I was getting pretty good. And I said, hey, I can make that thing look perfect. You don't have to paint that thing. And they looked at me like I was absolutely crazy. And so I got a completely different niche. So I got in with this guy named Greg Nelson, and he had the Mopar Ponderosa, and he had all these old Cudas and Super Bs and all this stuff. And he had sold all around the world. And so we had stuff coming in on closed trailers. I'll show you some of those pictures. And those cars were like $1 million, we were more well known on the coast than we were in our own backyard, and it drove me crazy, because you'd only get maybe one car a month, that
Mhm.
really got a car like that in. And it was like you're honored that they put it on a enclosed trailer and brought it there and blah blah blah. There was this one guy that did that for everybody too. It was always the same guy that would bring the car out to the coast. Even if he had to drive to the other coast and bring it to you, this guy was so trusted in this Mopar. These guys had obviously crazy money too, because these cars were 2, 3 grand new, and they're paying $1 million for them.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
that drove me crazy because I wanted the Honda guy. I wanted the Jaguar guy down the street. And Jaguars suck. Let's talk about that in a minute.
Yeah, well,
You know,
let's not
but
go down that
I
road.
but
With the hood that folds up the other way and just looking at it going, how am I
this
gonna get that one?
is so thick, right?
You almost just take a hammer to the back of those things, man. It's crazy.
We used to do that
So,
all the time. It's funny you say that.
so now, when I first started, I got emails on my phone. I think if I remember correctly, iPhone wasn't out when I first started. I can't remember my first phone. I think it was a flip phone, so I might not have received emails. But let's talk about the communications with customers, how that's changed. Has it helped? Has it been more of a nuisance now where people can just instantly communicate with you? How was that? Like, what was your marketing, your communication type back in
So
the day?
so primitive. We had that that wind up. No, had to get the charge of the phone before we could, make phone. So it is kind of funny. I remember us in the early '90s moving into a shop after we were all ready to rock and roll, and we were really gearing up. And this guy came in, and we all had pagers, right? We had these pagers you'd wear on your hip, and these things
Uh-huh.
size of a cigarette pack back then. They weren't the smaller ones.
Yeah, no, I know.
It was really cool. We had this board. We thought we were so high tech. We had this board at work, and you could send out individual text, or everybody could get the same text. And this is where you didn't read it; you actually listened to it. So you would print it in, and then you'd push the button. And it would say, "Hey, who's closest to the Mercedes dealership? We need to put a fire out or something, And then that guy would chime back because it was just a button.
Oh, okay.
Time back, and he would say, yes or no or whatever. And it was like, I look back at it now, and it was so damn primitive, but we just thought it was the best in the world because we didn't have cell phones. We started having cell phones in like 93, 94. I know they were out in like 89, but they're the size of a small Volkswagen. We didn't have them yet, and they were like $800-900 a month too, so it was like,
Yeah.
get a
Yeah.
page. If you get a number, call it back. We just walk to any salesman's desk and, do you have to dial 9 to get out?
Yeah. I totally forgot about that.
It's like, oh, yes, you do. And you can use line 1 or 2, like, oh, great. But that's how we communicated, as silly as it sounds. But now it's very easy. And I do love that you can see a picture right away. And my time doesn't need to be wasted. Neither does theirs. And I can just say, well, geez, you kind of wrap this one around a telephone pole. This one,
That was done.
okay, you need a body
Yeah.
shop,
Yep. For guys that are just jumping in, for preface, guys, we're here talking about what have changed in the last 10 years or 15 years, or, Don is giving experience from even beyond that. But we want to give a time to just appreciate where the industry has grown and just the progression of this industry. So, and you guys that are jumping in or just jumping into the show, thank you for joining us. And, we want to, kind of bring together and appreciate everything, the communication aspect, what we've been able to do with that, the marketing, the tools. We're about to get into the apps that you use, the estimating stuff. I mean, everybody knows about this. I thought this was so high tech. I got my little invoice book.
Me
I was
too.
loving it.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
we're just chatting here, guys. Just reminiscing about what we used to do and how much it is advanced. I constantly look online and people are, I won't say rude, but they're a little more they're less polished when they give their complaints to, I would say Mobile Tech RX. And I'm like, wow, do you remember the day when they just weren't around?
Right.
like,
Yeah.
like you have to appreciate that. Like that's someone decided to say, you know what, I'm gonna invest into this. Hopefully it makes me money, but it's one hell of a need for this industry. So
it has to happen. I think it's probably my most important tool that I own on
yeah.
1,000. Honestly, I just
That has really advanced the industry, and I don't even think they're even done yet. What they could do to the industry as far as just getting the insurance companies to be all on one accord, that could just be amazing. So kudos to any of those innovators, any of the pioneers that are currently out here, pushing this industry forward. I think this show is, for you guys, I want to show my appreciation. I know Don appreciates that coming from 30 years ago. I'm pretty sure you're happy to have tools made.
It's funny. I was looking at that little thing you just showed, the invoice box. I thought that was the coolest thing because I had one that was 4 times the size of it, and then that thing came out, and I was like, "That's a bomb!" Oh, look at this.
Yeah, right. It's
Packed.
I'm telling you,
There's not
this
even a
thing
button
used to
on that
be
thing.
no. This thing used to be crazy, man. Had no place for the VIN. Just write it in. Last 6 of the VIN. Keep it moving.
We had place for the VIN. We made our own custom ones, but still, it was silly. And you were writing through 3. You'd give the customer one. I'd give my the tech got one, and then my girl in the office got one, and then she would have to hand put in every single one, and then keep track of that. Now it's just boom, boom, boom. And it's already in QuickBooks, and it's amazing. I can, I had guys come in. Tell me if you had this, Chris, because I remember right around April 10th, the phone would start ringing, and 15 people would want their invoice from something they did in December, or something crazy of the year before because they're doing their. And I'm like,
taxes. Yeah.
you realize I have to go through copies. I have copies that have to go, it was ridiculous, because I could find it in my QuickBooks or whatever I was using back then, but I couldn't I could show them the price and what they paid, but they wanted the invoice. And it was like, that's in boxes a long time ago,
Yeah, I stacked them by months, so I would literally go through the paper clips and be like, all right, that's that month, and what invoice number is. It would never be in order. If somewhat will be in order by date, but it's like, all right, I got it. Make sure you don't lose it because that's your only copy. Scan it in.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you, Mobile Tech RX.
A second, and then it really helps too when someone comes in and they say, And this is just starting to happen because we're a few years in. It's
Mhm.
you give me an estimate last year for $150 for this door, and you look at the door and it's like caved in, and you're like, God, in the old days, I would actually look at them and I would realize that they were fibbing, and I would still do it for 150 because I was worried about a bad review or something. And now I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, let's scan the VIN real quick and check it out. Oh, it looks like it was $450, and
Oh.
we looked at this together on this date, and here it is. Should I print it out for you again? Oh, okay.
Yeah, yeah.
You're not going to win on that either.
So what we've been doing is you could put different, locations. So sometimes they'll try to go to another location because we have 4 locations. And so they don't know, they just forgot that this the same company, and then my buddy be like, "He's already in here, you already wrote an estimate," and we rewrite it.
Yeah, of
They don't know, but we rewrite it for the exact same amount that,
course.
it's for, so.
And hopefully that's what they'll see every time.
Yeah. So guys, again, we just wanted to appreciate, everything that, have the industry has grown, how, I'm getting some feedback here on your end,
I got some really
Don.
bad feedback all of a sudden. Is that any better?
It's better. Can you still hear me? Man, not so
Okay.
much.
It turned bad about 5 minutes ago for me. I don't know what the deal
Oh,
is.
okay. Are you okay?
Hopefully the audience can hear us okay.
Yeah, hopefully. Well,
Any
cool.
feedback?
Don, are you there?
Yep, I'm here. You here?
Uh,
Hello?
yeah, I'm here. I can hear you. So, Don, I really want to discuss a little bit before we head out, about your podcast, about the Stanliner event. If you could really just touch a little bit about that.
Absolutely. Can guys hear us out there? I'm losing
Let
you.
me see. Let me see what the chat says. Yeah,
Testing.
and like Trent said, hit that like button, guys.
Man, this sounds terrible all of a sudden on this end. I can barely make out what you're talking about. So something about Stanliner? You hear me now?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can. Really badly though. I don't know what happened here to us, but so the Stanliner event, this is what we want to talk about?
So, no, I know you have a podcast. You have an event coming up.
Yep.
And just I want to make sure people know where they can get in contact with you, stuff like that.
You bet. So right now we're just kind of going after the what's the K, of course, dentcraftmn@gmail.com is where we kind of can reach us there at, and or 952-473-8000. I've been going on so many people's podcasts. I haven't actually launched mine yet. So I'm a little behind on that. But from Christopher's here, I'm going to take about a half-hour break, and then I got to get on Mike's. Can you hear me, Christopher?
Yes.
Okay, okay. I'm hoping people can. This is just I don't know what I've got really good signal on this end, but the Stanliner events was it really exciting and boiling down. Christopher's going to come and visit us as well. That's Thursday and Friday. Looking forward to seeing Kaz and all his abilities and everything he's bringing to the table. I'm like a little kid at Christmas morning. You guys, I just to run down and see what's under the Christmas tree. So I am literally that thrilled and honored that he's coming to America and gonna teach us guys what we got in store here. So
If it- uh, Don, can you share with us your podcast? Is it out yet? I'm not sure if you want
no,
to share that yet.
nope, I haven't launched it yet. I was gonna do it for a couple months now, and it seems like I've been on a podcast every week, and it's like, well, I gotta find a date that's gonna work for me here. So I am going to go right after the Stanliner event, and I'm going to definitely jump in with both feet. So I'll be after you guys for sure. So hopefully I won't be too boring, but I'm really excited to talk about other things versus, I want to get some insurance guys on there. I've got some insurance guys already lined up. I want to hear their point of view. I want to talk to a couple of agents who want to talk to some adjusters. The adjusters I actually want to talk to can't legally do that. So that's going to be really hard. It's going to be kind of what we're probably sounding like a little bit here, muffled. I'm going to have to disguise some voices, and it's going to be really fun. But a lot of these guys are in agreement with this, but they can't do anything, and it's driving me absolutely crazy that we can't fix that. We just had a Ford F-150 in with some hail damage a few months ago, and it was I'll just say it was State Farm, and of course we get 25% for that roof. We get 25
Right.
because it's aluminum. We get 25% because it's got a ripped roof. We get 25% because we got a glue pull all around the front of that thing. And the guy looked at me and he said, "You get 25% for one thing. You pick which one." I go, "What other three things don't you want me to do? Because you're going to put a roof on, you know?" And that stuff drives me crazy, and it has to change. It just does. I mean, it's just not right. I
Yeah.
We need to get what we were paid for. We're already saving them 40% off of a paint job, as we all know and agree every day. Of course, we're all high fiving on the side, but we got to change it where it matters. And I think that's the start of the insurance deal for sure. So
Yeah. I
that's my
agree. Well, Don, I appreciate you joining us on the live show. Hopefully that feedback is a little better. I was doing some adjustments on my end.
way better. I don't hear it anymore. So
Perfect. Hopefully that worked. But guys, Don, I want to appreciate everything you're doing to jump on this show. I know it was short notice. I know you're busy, so I definitely
no,
appreciate that.
you for this type of stuff. I'm so honored to be involved with this career that I found, and I'm so blessed. I'm kind of sick, man. I love going to work every day. Anything else, man. I really can't. So hardest dent in the world, and I get out of the way. If three guys said no, I want it. That's just me. So
Yeah. Well, guys, show Don some love when he comes out with his podcast. Stay in communication with him. Tell him your email address one more time, Don.
it's dentcraftmn@gmail.com. Dentcraft for
Perfect.
so
Perfect. Don, I will see you at about 2 days.
um,
so,
forward to it.
so that'd be good. Guys, I want to thank you for joining us. Don't forget our sponsors are below. So if you want to support the channel and what we're doing, please click the links below and see if they can earn your business with the products that they do sell. Don, cue the music.
Yeah, boy, thank you. Big thank you to Christopher Ray. Cool.
All right, guys. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button if you can and share it. It will be much appreciated. See you guys on the next live show, guys. Peace.
Thanks, guys.